Hello, welcome to another episode of Phoning It In. I'm Michael Carvelli, joined by John Terry. Another classic two-man episode of the show.
What up? How's it going?
I'm good. This is going to be a fun episode in which we both do the thing that I often criticize you for,
Yep.
which is what did I just say?
Yeah, you both do the thing that you often criticize me for.
Okay, good job. And
We
that's what I
we
mean, because John is clearly paying attention to something else. I might be paying attention to some other things.
well, why don't we tell the people what we're doing? Because if a
Okay,
goal is
so
scored, I will
this is
explode.
this is part of what I do want to talk about,
Okay.
because we are in the middle of kind of a pretty awesome sports day.
Pretty awesome. Pretty.
I mean,
Sports,
especially
just in general, like
considering that it's a July night in the middle of the week, like kind of a cool sports day. We obviously have the Olympics on, which I currently do not have on. We'll get more into that later as
okay.
we talk about it. I also want to talk a lot about the NBA draft, which I am watching and paying a lot of attention to. And then Gold Cup semifinals. John's employers are on the field right now. They're on the pitch. They're trying to get to a final here. John has said that he gets a large bonus if
yeah, we
US
wish.
wins the Gold Cup.
We wish. No, we wish. But it'd be good. It'd be exciting, like especially because I feel like no one gave this team a chance early on. And
It's fun to watch it because you said you didn't think they were going to get a group stage. I assumed they were going to get out of the group.
Well, I'll say this. I said that I think everyone was a little worried about like the team, right? Like these guys hadn't played together.
It's a weaker team. They had just had the
and I think the expectations were super high, right? Because they just beat Mexico at Nations League.
They just played the CONCACAF Nations League with I would say probably the closest thing we are getting to
that is a PK.
Yep.
Unbelievable.
So they just won the CONCACAF Nations League a couple months ago with probably the closest thing to what a World Cup team right now would look like for the US.
Yeah.
And so obviously they were like, okay, you guys just won a tournament. Most of those guys don't need to come back for the Gold Cup. So it's very much like a B to C team level roster for this thing. And it's fun to watch this group kind of
go. Let's go. How about it, man?
This is a mess.
86 minute.
Oh, this show's a mess. It's already off. Boy. Okay.
All right. Okay. So moving on. I'm not distracted anymore.
The game's not over.
No, it's not. But no, to your point though, crazy because into July you don't think good sports period.
Yeah.
And tonight you got three things. I mean, the Mexico game's on later tonight. Like you got a lot of stuff on a random Thursday night, and it's like, what do you pick from? Yeah. I also think, maybe we talk about the Olympics really quickly. It's just I don't know if you've been watching. I didn't get to. I can't remember what I was doing, but I feel like I didn't get to really watch the Olympics in 2016, or I could.
Yeah.
Maybe I did. It was so long ago. I can't remember.
I watched it a good bit.
I know I didn't get to watch as much of the 2018 Olympics as I wanted to.
Yeah.
And I've been really enjoying, I think so many times you can get super stressed out when watching the Olympics, especially the Summer Olympics. There's so much to watch. You don't want to not watch stress something live. Yeah, stress from choice. You don't want to watch something live, and you're just nervous the entire time, and you want to watch all these sports like handball and stuff, and you don't get to. And I think it being in Asia just adds a whole nother dynamic, right? Because it's on. It starts at 6:00 at night here, and it ends it goes overnight, which Nick loves because he's up at all night, and we'll wake up to text messages from Nick giving us a recap of all the live sporting events he's watched, but. I don't know. It's interesting just how it's I just record everything on YouTube TV. And then when I want to watch handball, I go find the latest handball game.
See, here's what I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
I don't know why I am like this. And I genuinely I'm trying to figure out why I'm struggling to care about these Olympics. I don't know why, but I
just don't care. Have you watched any?
Yeah, I've watched some. I watch the things that I watch the sports that I care about for the Olympics. I've watched some basketball. I've watched some swimming. I usually get into gymnastics a little bit. Did not watch any gymnastics. And I've probably watched like half of the swimming.
Swimming's been the main one that I've watched.
I
But
don't
I've
know why.
also
I just can't.
I also tried to watch some like water polo and handball. I think they're just two interesting sports, and this is the only time you
I've
ever
done
get to
some
watch
handball.
that stuff.
I've watched some handball when I will like be at work.
Okay, got it. You just have
When
it
I've-
on.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the other interesting one that I've watched a little bit of that I really enjoyed was triathlon. And I watched the road races, which were like 4.5 hours long. Because the cool thing about the road races is like you get to it's all around Tokyo and like the greater Tokyo area. So you get to see like the countryside.
Right.
And it's like you don't like you think Tokyo, you think like so dense and urban. You don't think that there are like farms and stuff just on the out. So it was cool to see like the environment of Tokyo.
Yeah. I don't know. I need to get. I think starting this weekend, I'm going to try to get more into it again.
I have a suggestion for you of something that's helped me. Look at the schedule and find like one thing that you want to watch.
That's the other thing. I've had a really hard time finding when stuff is on.
Yeah,
and finding where stuff is on, what's on Peacock, what is on
NBC Sports,
USA or whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
I think finding like I got really.
And also, I don't want to watch it if it's not live.
That's fair, 100%.
Which is the other thing. And I also don't feel like waking up. Like the gymnastics thing was at like 5:45 or whatever in the morning.
You gotta find something that like swimming is nice because it's live, prime time here. But sometimes like water polo and handball have been in the mornings, which has been fun. Yeah, and I think because you can watch that late at night, and that's perfect to fall asleep to.
And like, I mean, basketball, the couple, the one USA game the other day tipped off at about 12:30, a little after midnight here. That's perfect for me. Like I'm up. Like
you're not going to sleep.
No, I'm up for at least a little while watching it. Obviously they blew out Iran, so I was able to sleep pretty quickly. So yeah, I don't know.
It's been interesting.
Trying to get back into it more.
Yeah, it's fun. It's like I feel like by the time and this happens with me too. By the time you like get into it and get into a groove, it's over.
Yep.
And it's just like, well, that stinks. Like
now,
it's over.
Can I ask a stupid question that will show how little I've been watching?
Yes.
Have we gotten into any of the track and field stuff yet?
I don't believe track and field has started.
I didn't think so. Okay, good.
I think it starts tomorrow, actually. I think it starts on Friday.
Okay.
July 30th.
I would really like to get.
Interesting. You're track and field. You like track and field.
I've always loved watching Olympic track. Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
That's always been it, from the time I was like really young. Because I think the first Olympics I really remember are 96. My birthday cake that year was the mascot.
Izzy the mascot.
Yeah. Donna made a cookie cake with the mascot on it.
I have a question. Do you think do you ever have an urge to go to the Olympics? Like, do you think you'd ever go
if they go to? I mean, it is not something that I would want to go outside of the country to go see. Like I wouldn't go out of my way to travel to Tokyo or whatever to see the Olympics. But the one that's in LA, whenever they come to LA, yeah, maybe. Sure.
Yeah. Or if it goes to a place where you have friends living and it's like, oh, I'll just go kill two birds with one stone and maybe yeah, totally. It's interesting.
It's not as high on my list.
You'd rather go to a World Cup, I assume.
Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. And also that feels a little bit more, is real. I guess realistic is it feels like a more realistic thing to go to just because when the World Cup is here in, 2026 or whatever,
a lot more places.
It's going to be everywhere. Yeah. It's not going to be just in one city. So there will be opportunities to get out there and hopefully see the U.S. in a decent place close by. But yeah, it's something I think would be cool to get to see, but it's not at the top of my sports bucket list by any means. I'm not as much of an Olympic dork as you are.
It's so I'm so when they were in Atlanta in '96. I was 7 years old, and I went to the Olympics. And like,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem this is gonna make me sound like a dick, but it doesn't seem special because I'm like, oh, it's just the Olympics. Like it was in, it was. I drove 10 minutes to go to track and field. I saw Carl Lewis like win a gold medal and break a record and all this shit.
That's what I was. So that Olympics is why I love watching
track and field.
Track and
that was Michael Johnson.
Michael Johnson,
and Carl
who
Lewis.
I loved because we were both named Michael, and Carl Lewis. But Michael Johnson was my favorite because he was also Michael.
And he had like the gold shoes or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Had the gold chain.
What a guy.
So big fan of that. And I think like everyone, when they get like, when those sports have an iconic figure in it, it's really easy to get into it.
True.
So like, I got really into swimming once Michael Phelps started being a thing. I got, more into the gymnastics girls once, that group last time, like,
right,
was really good or whatever. And, the who were the two beach volleyball?
Oh, Dahlhauser and the two guys.
No, the two girls.
Misty May and Carrie Walsh, like from a while. Yeah. Like
them, I loved watching them.
Dude, so true. Yeah,
so good at what they did.
They're badass. Yeah, so true, dude.
So like, I think that's what I need to like attach to athletes. I need to like find good athletes to follow, and then I'll get into these games.
Interesting.
But so far I haven't, and it's been hard to do, even with basketball, because obviously like the U.S. basketball team has taken like a C or a D team, and like, which
should still be good enough for gold, but whatever.
Well, it should be, but it's not like one of those things where, I've got Bradley Beal there, or he's not even there. That's right. Shoot.
Yeah.
So
Oof.
I don't know.
The other big thing happening tonight, which I didn't realize was happening, is the NBA draft.
Yes.
This is such a big deal, by the way. It's on ABC and ESPN at one time.
Yeah, I did not realize that. I assumed when you said you were turning it on, I thought you were either going to be on ESPN or like NBA TV or whatever.
Dude, I had no clue.
Yeah.
No clue it was on today. When you started, I saw the text messages come through, and I was like, "Oh, the NBA draft is tonight." And then you were like, "Yeah, all these players have already gotten traded."
Yeah, it's weird. So I knew that it was coming up tonight, obviously, because for our work purposes, WVU has a guy who is, hasn't happened yet, but odds are first round draft pick Deuce McBride is happening in a matter of minutes. So like we've had to know because of that, but like also when I got home from work today, the Wizards just started to blow everything up. And
how do you feel about that?
I love it. It's interesting. It seems like they are. So they made a trade they traded Russell Westbrook to the Lakers, which that's an interesting story on its own, because now you have Westbrook playing with LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Is there a salary cap in the NBA?
Yes.
Is it like a luxury tax situation or an actual salary?
There is a luxury tax. Yes.
Got it. Okay. So you can go over.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly how much, but
got it. Because you can only have so many max deals or something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
And if you sign and trade, if you sign with your existing team, the max deal is higher than if you sign with a new team, and that's why like sign and trades used to be a big thing.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. But like this trade, the Wizards have been in a really weird place where they've been like they should rebuild, but they haven't really been that bad that they
kick the can down the road. Like,
yeah, like
might
they
be
added
good.
Westbrook this year to try to see if they could get to the playoffs and make something happen, and they got into like the play-in round, and they got into the playoffs, but they didn't really do anything. So it seems like they're finally like convincing themselves to like rebuild, which is cool. This trade opens up, I think, not for this season, but for next season, opens up like $25 million in cap space for them to do things with.
If you're going to rebuild, pull the plug, throw in some dynamite, and just rebuild.
It seems like so I thought they were going to go really all in on it, because the other day there was all the speculation of Bradley Beal, their other like all-star, saying he wanted out. After the Russ trade, reports are now coming out that he wants to stay.
I saw tonight. The last one I saw is that he wants to stay.
Yeah, he wants to stay, and now allegedly they're working on another trade to bring in an all-star and all this stuff. It's fascinating. There are always so many fun trades. I mean, you think about it, even, a couple years ago with the draft picks, like a trade straight up Luka Doncic for Trae Young. Think about how
I forgot about that.
How crazy that is. For
so I think Michael said it, like when the Hawks were, my brother, when the Hawks were like making the run or whatever, that at the time, like the first year after that trade, it was like, what did we just do? Like, why did the Hawks give up this guy who is so good? And now I actually think it looks like the Hawks got the better deal.
It's one of those things also where, like, the Mavericks were just a better team. They had a better team around.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That first Trae Young year, it was Trae Young.
That was it.
By himself. Yeah. Up until this year, really. It was Trae Young by himself. So it's fascinating. It's crazy how, like, little trades like that can impact everything. This is an interesting draft because it's the first year with the guys who are jumping, from high school to the G League instead of going to college and then getting drafted. We saw 2 in the top 10 go that route, which is interesting.
They can be drafted from any G League team. The change was that high school kids could be in the G League, right?
Yeah. So basically, what they have is there's a team called like G League Ignite or something like that some of these guys sign with out of high school.
Got it. And do they actually play? I don't know anything about the G League.
They play the
Ignite like a team. So it's like the rest of the G League teams, and then like a team of high school all stars.
I mean, I don't think it's all high school all-stars, but more or less, yeah.
Got it. Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like they have a few people. Let me see what they're – because I looked at this roster not too long ago. But, yeah, they're basically like a developmental team.
Interesting.
They have a few guys who played in college. They have a few veterans. Like I feel like they have like – they have several people who came over as like – free agents or G League draft picks. I love talking to you when you are not listening at all.
We just won, man. We just won.
Okay.
Cup finals. Here we go.
But it seems like they have a mix of like prospects and then people who are coming from the G League. Like on this team with all these guys is players like Jarrett Jack, who you will know well.
Jarrett Jack, baby.
Sticking around still. That's so insane. They have a guy so Jarrett Jack, born 1983. This team also has a guy born in 2004.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's cool though. I like how they're doing that. I'm glad that like the G League is finally working and is actually like turning into a developmental league. Like that's what it should be. There should be another option. So yes.
But yeah, it's interesting. I think it's cool. The draft is always fun to watch. I always enjoy it a lot. It's been nice, with actually having a team these last few years to get invested.
Big Wizards fan, man. Big Wizards fan.
Incredibly frustrated by the fact that they,
Speaking of teams, are you excited about the Premier League starting back in just over 2 weeks?
Sure.
Can hear the enthusiasm.
Sure. I will say I am in love with Spurs away kit this year.
Do you have a Spurs kit?
Huh?
Do you have a Spurs kit?
Several.
Oh, you do? Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
I think I just never see you wearing them because you always just throw in the towel so early in the season.
No, I wear them when I watch games.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the one this year looks awesome. It's almost like space themed. It's super interesting. I don't know if I had ever shown it to you, but it's really nice. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. It's a new era, I guess. We'll see who's with the club, who's not.
Right. Just in 2 weeks, which is crazy. Oh, that is a cool jersey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it a lot.
That's interesting. Yeah.
I loved it when I saw like the photos of it on social, I loved it. And then, but it was one of those that was like, that's one that I want to buy. It's similar to the reaction I had with like the new US soccer jerseys a month or so ago.
Yeah.
Where I was like, oh, I want to buy that, but I don't know how it's going to look on,
it's iconic. It's like an iconic, like,
but I love it. And both of them, the US one and the Spurs one, when I saw the players wearing them in a game, I was like, oh, these are great. I love it.
Other big sports thing happening right now that we should touch on. We don't have time for
people love us talking sports.
No, this is going to be quick. Is the conference realignment stuff has blown up, and you saw something really cool that I really want to do with you, Nick, and Cody.
Yeah, I think there's got to be a way that we can do this, all of us putting this together without it being its own podcast episode, because
100%. No.
The podcast episode would be like 4 hours on its own.
No. I think literally like we just get some beers and we sit on Zoom for like a couple hours and do this. I think it'd be fun. But the idea, and you saw it, I think in the LA Times.
LA Times did they put together, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 people, and they did a draft. They drafted their own super conferences, which is great. I love the idea.
You can argue for what you want, what you
draft
don't want in
16
your
schools. They had four writers, which is perfect for this podcast. 4 writers drafted 16 schools to build their own college football super conference. And I believe they did specifically college football. It was interesting. It's fascinating to see like what people would build around. I told you what school I would go with first. I mentioned what did you? Because you.
Well, I don't want. I'll tell you,
John. It's a fun exercise. Just say the one that you think would be.
I would pick Notre Dame.
Interesting.
Their TV rights alone.
If you're going that, why wouldn't you go Texas?
Notre Dame has more valuable TV rights than any other team in the country. They have their own deal with NBC, dude.
I mean, Texas has its own network.
Kind of. Notre Dame is more valuable. I would rather have Notre Dame. There are more Notre Dame fans around the country than Texas fans. Texas fans live in Texas. Notre Dame fans live in Notre Dame. And based on this exercise, I would make the argument that there's not going to be any regional delineation between any of our super conferences because it's a draft.
No, it's a nationwide conference.
I would rather because it's a nationwide conference, I would rather get the team that might have the most nationwide support out of any other team.
Yeah.
But it's good to know I won't have any competition picking.
Notre Dame would not be on one of my. I mean, I understand why it'd be a first round pick because of that, but I don't know. I think honestly if I'm looking for who's going to put together great teams, who's going to like get people, who's going to be like a big money get. I love the idea of USC. I think Hollywood, NIL rights, it's going to attract LA will attract a lot of people.
Can I think before we do this brings up a good point, because that is an interesting view that you have on it. Is who are we when we compile this conference? Are we a fan or are we a conference commissioner? Okay,
we're conference commissioner.
So then the goal is to.
Well, here's what I'm also proposing to make this even more complicated for us.
Because we need more complicated.
Yeah. Within these, we add more picks. And I'm thinking at least one more pick. And what are we adding? Anytime, at any point, you can draft your TV deal.
What do you mean by that? Like draft? What do you mean? Like
I'm drafting ESPN. I'm drafting Fox. I'm drafting NBC.
I was going to say, so I like that.
I'm drafting Netflix. I'm drafting Amazon.
Interesting. Okay. What about at any time you can steal one other person's or trade or something like that? You should be able to steal you get a steal or a block. You get one or the other. So if you steal someone's team, you no longer can block a team from stealing yours. I don't know. We should because that's what's happening right now. The SEC is stealing teams from the Big 12.
Yeah.
But anyways, I want to do that. I don't want to do it right now. Obviously, we're not doing it right now. We should stop talking about sports if I'm being honest, because people aren't listening anymore.
But yes, so I think we'll need to figure out a time to do that. It'll be nice.
Yes.
Will be a nice little way to cap the summer for us.
Cap the summer. Kick off COVID fall.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So yes, since you clearly want to get into more depressing things, let's talk about that.
No, I actually don't want to talk about it. I'm done with Delta and COVID. I'm going to the beach, which I'm actually like the goal of this was, it's funny, we were talking about maybe going to like Europe or something, and we're like, no, the beach is safer, like we're not gonna be able to go to Europe. And then like a couple months ago, I was like, well, shit, we should have just gone to Europe. Like everything's open, like we're good. And now I'm like, well, thank God we're just going to the beach. But we are going to Florida, which is a massive hotspot. I don't plan on doing any, like we have a beach house. We're on the beach.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to restaurant. Like it's a very deserted, not deserted. That sounds bad. Like a very,
Yeah, I know what you mean.
like there's just not much shit around. It's not like populated. Yeah. Isolated.
You'll be isolated.
So I don't plan on like going near people or seeing anyone outside of like who I'm going with.
Right.
But like we're driving down, and I'm like, well, where in South Georgia am I gonna stop? Like I'm not stopping. Like we're gonna go get barbecue and stuff, and now I'm like, I don't know that I want to go get barbecue. Like, I don't know. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited though. I haven't been to a beach in like a beach house in probably like 15 years.
Wow.
I've been to like a resort on a beach, but it's just different of like, so I'm super pumped.
I'm trying to think. I don't know if I've ever done like the rent out a whole beach house thing before.
Well, this is like a townhouse, so it's not like a.
But either way,
yeah.
Like I think it's been either like hotel stuff for beach vacations or like a B&B type of deal, something like that.
Yeah.
Where you're with a bunch of other people, but
right. I'm pumped. I am.
That should be a good time. Is it who's going?
It is Michael, Jay Brick, Big Mo, and Jay Brick's mom.
Nice.
So it'll be good. Yeah, it'll be fun. So shall I get into the movie? Maybe.
Let's get into it. I'm very excited about this one. What?
I just forgot how uncomfortable. I haven't seen this movie in probably 3 or 4 years.
Man.
And I downloaded it. I was in Nashville a week ago for just a day. And I downloaded it to watch on the flight home from Nashville. It was a perfect length. It was like the entire length of the flight.
It's an interesting one to watch on a plane with people around.
Well, okay.
Thank you. Hold on real quick. Anybody who didn't listen to last week's show, this week's movie club rom-com showdown pick, I chose 2005's Judd Apatow classic, The 40-Year-Old Virgin, starring Steve Carell, Seth Rogen, Catherine Keener, etc. Great movie. And people know what it's about. It's about Steve Carell's a 40-year-old virgin.
And I didn't know this. But this was, I think you brought this up maybe last, I don't know if it was, we were texting about it or you talked about it, but this was filmed after season 1 of The Office.
Correct.
And you said that this may
Released
have saved
after.
The Office.
Released.
Yeah. Okay. So I don't really know where to start with this one. Definitely like chick flicky for sure. Like there's a massive love stories, hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And also the most like cringe-worthy movie ever.
Yes.
I think like so cringe. I think the other interesting thing that stood out to me is that Nick talks a lot about like how movies age, and holy shit, this movie does not age well at all.
It doesn't. And it has some jokes. I think there are a few scenes that probably would get written differently this year if it was released, but I really don't think any of it is like, I don't think any of it was like mean-spirited.
No, I don't either. I think a lot of the stuff that happens in the store, right, is like these people wouldn't have jobs, and I think they knew that when they were how they were writing this, but it was over the top.
They're not making it. They're not writing it
for realism,
and also not like glorifying them.
Right.
Like the people who are saying this, like Seth Rogen talking about the girl at like the donkey show and stuff like that. You're not supposed to be like, I want to be him.
Right.
No, you're supposed to be like Andy, who's like, what in the world are these people talking about? Oh my God. Like you're supposed to also feel like you're in over your head.
What's your favorite part of the movie?
It's the poker scene. It's when, the whole, and this was like the whole idea for the movie came from basically the poker scene was a sketch that Steve Carell wrote.
I don't
And
think
they
I knew
built a
that.
movie around like a guy, his friends find out that he is 40 and a virgin. And it's so funny. It's so, I mean, it's, you have Steve Carell just like trying to play along because that's just what he's always had to do in a situation like this. If he ever finds
And he
himself
did an amazing job. Like
for a second,
I had forgotten about that. He was like off the rails, and it just kept going and going and going. And then it's funny because the reaction he has when he says like the sandbag thing, and then
Yes.
he's biking home. He's like, "Oh, why did I say that? Why did I say that?" And it's exactly what the person watching is thinking as he
Yeah.
says. It's like, dude, you were so close.
It's so
Why did
good,
you say
man.
that?
That's great. The speed dating is great.
The thing that happens after the speed dating is my favorite part.
Which,
When like they go speed dating or whatever, and then the friend's like girlfriend comes
oh
because he
yes,
finds the note or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is funny. The waxing scene is
Wax, it's
hilarious.
iconic
Very iconic. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
real and really a thing that
Right.
happened. Like,
Right.
great.
What it's just a, I mean, just a great cringeworthy fun ending, like the part
Yeah.
at the end with like the daughter and how like the relationship that they build, but not just with the wife but the daughter too. I think that's really cool when they're at like the Planned Parenthood, I think. uh, I,
One of my favorite like first movies by a director ever. Maybe my favorite director
wow.
ever,
Wow.
honestly. Um, this being his first movie, it's amazing. Um, a lot of like future stars who are like not quite there yet. You know what I mean? Like Seth Rogen blows up a couple years later with Knocked Up. Paul Rudd blows up later with, you know, everything he's done.
Well, and what's the actress's name who's at the bar at the beginning? The one who like the gets the DUI or doesn't get the DUI but drives drunk.
Leslie Mann.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't know her name, but she's all over the place now.
Yeah.
That's also another
Yeah.
funny
And
scene.
that's also Judd Apatow's wife.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Were they married when the movie?
Yes.
Okay. Also a funny scene when she makes him blow into the like the
Yes.
breathalyzer.
So good.
It's like that's like when you know things are about to get crazy.
Yeah. It's weird. The only person who did not like blow up from the main cast or like from the main group of people that he works with and stuff is Romany Malco, the black guy. And I'm fascinated that he didn't because he was so
good. I was about to say,
good.
Is he not in anything else?
I mean, he was in the show Weeds for a while. He was in
I
a
forgot
couple
about that
other
show.
little
Okay.
things here and there, has done like some smaller roles in other things. But like, and we see a guy like Kevin Hart in this movie in like a small cameo acting against him. And you're like, why does this guy not get a chance to have a Kevin Hart type run where he
was good
starring in stuff?
He was super
hilarious.
good. He was good.
He was so funny.
As good as Kevin Hart is in movies. Like,
yeah. And I thought Kevin Hart in his like one scene, Kevin Hart in his one scene in this, Jonah Hill in his one scene in this.
Yep.
Like they're great also. So yeah, just an amazing. I love this movie, and like you said, it's able to do like the raunchy, funny stuff that you get from those mid 2000s movies that maybe haven't aged super well and whatever. But also, it is a good romantic comedy.
So I was going to ask ranking wise. So I think it's a really good movie. It doesn't rank high in terms of romantic comedies for me.
Ooh.
For me, it's much more of just like a hardcore comedy.
See, I think the romance in this is great.
Interesting. Okay.
I think the story of the couple is really good. And I think it follows all the typical tropes. I mean, I think it follows into the like the couple meets and they finally get together, but then something happens where the one guy is hiding something from the girl and then they eventually get back together and they, you know.
No, you're right. And you have multiple relationships. Like
it just does it from a different, it does it from a standpoint of like, I don't want to say not being a chick flick, but it does it from a standpoint of being like, it's a bro comedy. that
Broke.
also is kind of does like the typical things you would get from a quote unquote chick flick.
Maybe that's why I don't think it's chick flick, because it's a romantic comedy made for men.
Yeah.
It's not made for women. It's 100% for guys.
I think it's great. I think it's a great rom-com.
Where would you rank this?
I would put it number 1.
Could you read off what we have right now?
Our current list is number 1, You've Got Mail. Number 2, Crazy Rich Asians. Number 3, 10 Things I Hate About You. Number 4, Always Be My Maybe. Number 5, Palm Springs. Number 6, The Proposal.
What did you say number 1 was?
You've Got Mail.
Yeah, okay. I could see it number 1. And I don't want to argue. You made some good points. Like, it's not, this is about compromise. Not my favorite, but I think you've made some good points.
I think it's really great. I think everyone does what they are supposed to do really well. I think it just does the typical rom-com story in an interesting way. And it's one that I can revisit all the time. Like I said, I watched it this week for the show, and it was the first time I had watched it since like a month ago.
First time I'd watched it in a while.
Yeah, I had happened like a month or so ago. I had happened to get on HBO and see that it had just been added to HBO Max. And I was like, oh, I'll watch 40-Year-Old Virgin while I go to bed tonight. And I ended up watching the whole thing. It's so good. It's so good. It is the first movie that we've got on this list that I have rated 5 stars.
Woo! I don't think I knew you liked it that much.
I love this movie.
Wow. Okay.
So yeah, very high on it. 40-Year-Old Virgin is currently number 1 on our list as we are now 6 weeks in to this season of the movie club. How do you feel? I feel like we've had a pretty good group of movies.
It's been fun. It's been fun. I like having like one genre to just watch instead of when we did it early in COVID. Yeah. And I'm excited about the next one because I have not seen this movie in like a decade.
I watched it for the first time at the beginning of the pandemic.
For the first time or for the first time since it came out?
For the first time.
Oh, shit. All right. So the movie is The Big Sick. Oh, sorry. I was thinking we were doing another movie. I've seen this one more recently. The Big Sick. I thought we were doing the other movie we had talked about, which we're going to
No.
Yeah. I'm even more shocked that you just saw that at the beginning of the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It did not come out. It maybe 3 or 4 years old?
2017.
So 3 or 4 years old. Yep. It's called The Big Sick.
Correct.
Great movie. I don't know. Do you know anything? Who's like starring in it? I don't know any of their names.
All right. So starring Kumail Nanjiani.
The best.
And Zoe Kazan.
Based on true story.
It is based on the true story of Kumail Nanjiani and his wife, Emily Gordon. They wrote the movie together. It's the true story of how they met and got together. And there are, sicknesses and love stories and comedy. It's a good movie.
Love it. Some good comedy. You got the guy from what's the everyone loves Raymond, like the main guy. What's his name?
Ray Romano.
Ray Romano. I don't know anything about pop culture. I think everyone knows this by now.
I know.
But Ray Romano. It's fine. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I like this movie a lot. I'm excited to rewatch it. It is on Amazon Prime if anybody would like to check it out. I don't know. I think one of these that are on Prime, I don't think we're going to do it this one, but I think at one point we should do like a Twitch watch along where we get together for one of the Prime movies.
Yeah, man. Man.
But yeah, anything else we want to get to today before we wrap this up?
Nah, dude. I'll try not to get eaten by a shark at some point this week so we can record.
Yeah, please don't die.
Yeah, wouldn't be good. I have been seeing videos of sharks, and it is kind of scaring me a little bit.
You'll be fine.
See. I hope so.
I don't imagine you'll be venturing out in the water to a point where sharks will be out.
Probably not. I do have an inner tube. I do have an inner tube, a big donut inner tube. So
yeah, just go out there.
We'll see what happens. Shark bite or COVID.
There we go. God. But yeah, that's all we've got for this week's show, guys. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show on any of the apps you use. subscribe to us on YouTube. John, where can they find us on the socials?
They can find us at Phoning It In Pod on Twitter and Facebook, or they can email us at phoningitinpodcast@gmail.com.
Look at you. And a shout out,
I'm a
as always,
pro.
to Huh?
I'm a pro.
Of course. Shout out, as always, to Miguel Civilion for our theme song. Check out Saving Miles Lemon on Spotify and Apple Music. And with that, that's all we have this week. Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next time.